Hey, hi everybody. I just wanted to touch base with you. We have the exam this week. I wanted to go over, we have 3 questions on the exam, so I wanted to go over them real quick because I look at them on my computer here. The first one says, explain the pros and cons of democracy, then show how representation can protect liberty. That goes along, I thought I matched up nicely with the discussion post that we had earlier in the course. And what I'm looking at there is, democracy, remember, keep in mind the idea of Jefferson and the notion of mob rule. Okay, democracy where people have a voice, but an oppressive majority can be very dangerous to the minority. So while we are a democratic country in the sense that we think of ourselves as a democracy, we're a representative democracy, more of a republic, as you know, than a pure democracy. But keep in mind that there are some shortcomings to democracy. Okay, and the notion of representation, you having a voice, you being able to pick people, okay, to be out there and create laws and to change those people. How does that impact your rights? How does that protect you? Okay, that's kind of where I'm going with that. The notion of people having a voice and having some representation, maybe even representation with your free speech. Okay, it's not always just about who represents me in Washington, but maybe who represents me in Lansing as well, or who represents me on my city council. So representation has a lot of forms, and think about the pros and cons of democracy. Okay? Now, the second question says, what's the difference between a national and local issue? And how does the economics impact federalism? National issues and local issues. I think they're pretty clear, but an example would be like the military is a national issue. My garbage pickup's a local issue. There's lots of other issues along that line. Okay, and so show me that there's some issues that are unique to your local area where you live, where your everyday life versus the whole country. All right, and then the other thing that you want to think about, how does economics impact federalism? Think in terms of cost. How much does it cost to get things done? Are there some things that just cost too much money for local governments to do, even though they're supposed to be local issues? Are they so expensive that the federal government has to take over? Is the notion that because we ask the government to do so much that only the federal government has the funding, the fiscal ability to do these things? That's kind of where I'm going with that. Okay? And then the third one says, define what constitutes a right and then explain when rights can be limited. And that's a very important question. That's why that gets 40 points. Okay? Be real clear on what a right is, different kinds of rights. Okay, there's a lot of ways we can define rights. There's positive rights, there's negative rights, there's constitutional rights, there's human rights, there's economic rights, there's social rights, there's a lot of things. So be clear about what a right is. And then what I mentioned, what I'm looking at here when I say when can a right be limited, remember rights are not absolute, right? I can't run through an airport and scream bomb, okay? I can't kidnap somebody and withhold their right to movement. So there are times when rights can be limited. The question is, when should they be limited? Because it's dangerous. When you limit a right, you oftentimes never get that right back. And when you start to limit a right, it really sets a precedent to keep, kind of infringing or encroaching on that right, and that right becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay? So be clear on what rights are and when rights should be limited. Okay? I hope this helps. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Have a good week. Bye now.